where music and minds meet.
Time to get in the ring with DJ
Yes, it is. It's time to get in the ring here with DJ D. Kooks here. As always, I have my co-host, the Beastly, Beast Mike.
Yes. Today I'm not actually in studio, yet I will be I'll be working the Sixer game, which has the Sixers apparently are actually playing really well. So
yes, they are.
Pretty good. They actually are playing really well. It is I don't know if this is a metaphor for what we're about to see, a gloomy, rainy, not a pretty Friday, January 20th, 2017. Let's see here. We got plenty to get to. The Royal Rumble is coming up next Sunday. We got some things to get to, but we did cover a lot of the things that we missed the last time we were on air.
Yes.
So where do you want to begin?
Let's start with the WWE UK Tournament.
The WWE UK Tournament was entertaining. It had a lot of good moments there. It had a lot of good moments.
Yes.
From the show. It really was a pretty entertaining stuff. A lot of the main players that we expected to put in work did just that.
Yes, we start with night one here. Trent Seven versus H.C. Dyer. Your impressions of both Trent Seven and H.C. Dyer in this match?
So both guys were productive. Trent Seven clearly was labeled as one of the favorites. Both guys did do their thing. Trent Seven getting it done in the end, but it was a very solid match from both guys. They really did put in work, so I did like the match.
And then we got the awkward ending of the night. Jordan Devlin versus Danny Burch from formerly from NXT.
Yeah, that was a
sloppy.
They kind of messed up the finish on that. It was unfortunate they messed up the finish, but it was not a terrible match. But it was the finish kind of did mess with it a little bit.
Yeah, the crowd was pretty hot for it.
The crowd was not the entire event.
Yes,
the crowd
both
was great.
nights.
For the whole event, the crowd was great.
Yeah, I enjoyed the crowd here. Basically, Devlin did a kick to Burch.
The back of Burch's head. It was a good kick too. It busted Burch open.
It busted Burch open. It was pretty mediocre, the match. I would say it's pretty mediocre. Burch looked better. Devlin did not look good. I did not like Devlin at all in this tournament. And they were chanting Mini Finn Balor, stuff like that.
Yeah, because he was trained by Finn. Because he was trained by Finn, and he had the Finn the jacket. He had the Balor Club jacket that Finn would normally rock. Yeah, that's a lot of that came from.
Then we got Saxton Huxley, the most FCW name ever, versus Sam Gradwell. And the highlight of the match were the Jesus chants.
Yeah, that was funny. That was quality. The thing about the European crowd, they come up with stuff on the fly.
They did the hey Jesus chant. Oh my God. Yeah. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I enjoyed that very much. Basically it was a nothing match though.
Right.
Paul Heyman take away my
Saxon actually got the win over Gradwell. Now to one of the most TV-ready stars of the tournament, Pete Dunne versus Roy Johnson.
I love Pete Dunne in this entire tournament. It didn't matter who he faced. Pete Dunne was probably my favorite part of this tournament. He was tremendous. He played the role of a heel brilliantly.
Yes.
Throughout the entire tournament. And the Bruiserweight, as he's been known, he delivered his part, delivered the goods in a heavyweight fashion. And I love his finisher to the bitter end. I love the finisher. I love the quality. A very good performance the entire tournament, but in round one as well.
I agree. It was a very good tournament for Pete Dunne here, and it only gets better from here for Pete Dunne. He's actually pretty. Yeah. He's a pretty small guy, but
no, he hits hard. He certainly hits hard.
Then we got Wolfgang versus Tyson T-Bone. Wolfgang won.
Impressive.
I really liked Wolfgang here.
He really was a very solid piece of this tournament as well. Like he showed a lot of that grit. He moved around pretty good for a guy his size.
Yeah, I really liked Wolfgang. It was very good, I thought. The moonsault and the swanton finisher, he impressed, and T-Bone had some character work that was very good. I never expected this match to be good, but it was good.
It turned out much better than I would have given it credit for.
Speaking of not turning for the better, James Drake versus Joseph Connors. This was horrendous.
This did not turn out well. This was kind of one of the snoozers of the tournament.
Yeah, this was the snoozer. Connors won, and Michael Cole was the highlight of this match. He was really good.
Yeah, Cole did a very good job in this whole tournament. He really did. Cole and McGuinness really did complement each other pretty well. McGuinness, with his background of the European scene, I thought they complemented each other pretty well in this whole tournament.
Yeah, I agree with that. Mandrews versus Dan Maloney. Obviously, Mandrews is easily the most TV-ready wrestler of the crop.
Mark Andrews was big. Yeah, he was another one of the guys that was really, really good in this tourney.
He got to come out to his music from his own band.
Yeah, his skill, his the charisma, the crowd ate him up immediately. Mark Andrews was heavy in this tournament too. I like what he was. I like what he brought to the table. He was big time too.
And then we got Tyler Bate versus Tucker in the main event. It was an odd choice for a main event, but these guys brought it.
I like both guys. I like Tyler Bate especially, but I like both guys. I thought both guys were productive.
I thought this was easily the best match of the first round. Easily.
Right, yeah, no, that's true. That's true. That was the most competitive. Both guys were very evenly matched in round one.
Tyler hit the Tyler Driver 97, and the crowd went wild.
Yes.
And then afterwards, they did a little presentation of the next round matches, and then Pete Dunne.
And this is where the tournament turned up. At this moment is where the tournament really started to got hot for me. When Dunne attacked his second round opponent, that's when the tournament got hot for me. Okay, now we got some heat. Because it didn't have any heat at all. It had a bunch of guys that didn't have that much of a backstory except for a couple of guys. Like Connors, who was nice, and Wolfgang, and a little bit of Dunne, a little bit of Bate and Andrews, but it didn't have the kind of heat that it needed. And then Dunne gave it heat, and then that's what really, to me, picked up steam.
Then we had the first match of the next round, starting off with night 2. Pete Dunne attacking Sam Gradwell the night before, and Sam Gradwell decided to continue, and Pete Dunne just beat the living crap out of him.
Yeah, Pete Dunne finished him off, and this was a fairly, not quite, I want to say, easy match, because Gladwell did fight back to some degree, but the damage was done the night before.
The damage was done, and, it was something where Dunne looked like a star here.
Yes.
Then we had Mark Andrews versus Joseph Connors.
Yep, Andrews and Connors. I enjoyed this match. I thought it was, other than Wolfgang, I thought it might have been the best match in round 2. I thought it was a
No,
productive
I
match
didn't
on-
think this match was all that good, honestly.
You don't like it?
No.
I thought both guys put in work. I like what they were bringing to the table. I think in the end, I think it was Andrews that won. Andrews, I think, won.
Andrews won, yeah.
Yeah, Andrews finished the deal there. But I thought it was a good match. I was with it.
I thought it was a tie between Wolfgang and Trent Seven and Tyler Bate versus Jordan Devlin as the matches of the quarterfinals.
Okay.
I would lean more towards Wolfgang versus Trent Seven.
I like Wolfgang's match. This is a very physical match with Wolfgang and Trent Seven. And Trent Seven absolutely brought it to Wolfgang. A guy who looked like he had the size and the skill good enough to win this whole thing was Wolfgang. But Wolfgang gets it done here, and it was a productive, entertaining round 2 for him.
Yes, he hit the howling for the win. And then Jordan Devlin versus Tyler Bate. This was a carry job.
Oh, yeah. No.
Tyler Bate carried this match.
He's 19 years old. He's already carrying cats. Very impressive by Tyler Bate. He really came of age in this tournament. He really did. No, I was impressed with him.
Yes. Then we get to one of the matches of the night. Pete Dunne defeating Mark Andrews in the semifinals.
Oh, no, yeah, no doubt. This was a great semifinal.
This was great.
This was a great semifinal. It was really, you could really see both guys and put in work and really do a great job collaborating with each other's styles. I was really into this match from start to finish. Both semis were good. Yeah, Wolfgang and Bate in the other semi.
But this one was obviously the better one.
But this was the superior of the two. But both were.
I gave
really
this 4
good.
1/4. This
both
Pete
semis
Dunne
were
Mark
legit.
Andrews match. This was awesome.
Yeah.
Like
Both semis were legit, no doubt.
This one was legit. Pete Dunne got the win with the drop that bitter end, but the counters were great.
Yes. I'm saying the counters, the flow, the counters of it, the flow of it, the instant chemistry they had in the ring, it worked so well.
Then we had Tyler Bate defeating Wolfgang in the semifinals. And then
I didn't think you could get him up. I really didn't think you could get him up in a Tyler driver. Especially after all the abuse Wolfgang gave him. I didn't think he can get him up for it, but that was impressive on Bate to finish the job after everything he did.
And then Peter Dunne.
Dunne attacked Bate after the match and beat up his shoulder pretty good, which obviously fit into the whole student-teacher thing, similar to Kendrick and Perkins. So they kind of had the same hook as the Cruiserweight tournament and the European tournaments of teacher and student, if you will.
Yep. Then we got a little showcase match. Neville versus Tommy End.
I enjoyed this. I was cool with this. Neville's promos and Tommy End and the crowd going ape for both guys. I thought this was a good look for the tournament to have Neville do his thing.
This was decent. Even though the match before, during the match, production botch.
Yeah. That was not a good look.
You're getting sacked in the morning.
Yep.
My God.
Then there was we got Finn Balor kind of showing love to the people, and the thing about this, Finn Balor not in a sling, not in a cast, the free movement of his arms. It would seem that Finn Balor is on his way back, and probably will be back. You would think sooner than later.
Yep.
I would like to think that's the case, and the significance of Finn Balor making that appearance.
The final was Tyler Bate defeating Pete Dunne. This was
awesome.
fan-freaking-tastic.
That match was awesome from start to finish. The crowd was with it. The chemistry was cool. Obviously, student and teacher. That storyline was there. The psychology of working on the shoulder the entire match from Dunne, and the grit and will of Bate. doing everything he could to win the match, and it was everything about it was tremendous from start to finish. This was a really, really good match.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
So Tyler Fate wins. He wins the European, eventually the UK Championship or European Championship, if you will. I guess. Where do we go from here? What happens now? I think is the real question. With
there's
tournament.
reports that ICW and Progress are going to be on the network. Insane Championship Wrestling and Progress.
They did mention Progress a lot during this whole tournament. So you figure, we talked about it before, where there was rumors that a bunch of different wrestling companies were coming to WWE Network, and we talked about the whole thing of they might have different packages of WWE Network, and the whole extra $5 you get everything type of thing. We did talk about that before, and if this is a sign of what that will be, by all means, let's see it. Let's see where they can go from here. Let's see with production, and let's see with. I highly doubt Cole's going to be doing the play-by-play every week over there, but let's see where they can go from here. Let's see where they can go with this. Personally, I put them on SmackDown, and I
don't put that. I give them their own show.
Yeah. But do it with say with the cruiserweights, maybe a match or two, and then go from there. And maybe a match or two, but have them have their own show. But I have the cruiserweights go to SmackDown, so that Ronaldo call it, and then the Europeans on Raw let Cole call it.
Right.
And let McGinnis and Saxton do those matches, and let Graves and Aries do the SmackDown ones, or something like that.
I wouldn't put them on a show right now. I would just.
No, that's fair. Yeah, let them have their own thing. The problem is, I don't want those guys to lose the momentum that they built over the last those 2 days.
Right. Right. Then we have the New Beginning cards just came out. The New Beginning New Japan cards just came out, and they're doing English commentary and they found a new color guy. Cyrus, Don Callis from WCW fame. Doing the commentary, and this is a clear indicator that Kenny Omega's staying with New Japan.
Yeah,
because he's a Winnipeg boy.
Right.
Basically, if Kenny Omega didn't put in word for Don Callis, he wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
So we pretty much know that Kenny Omega's staying, even though he's trying to tease us. So we have the cards for New Beginning in Sapporo and Osaka. The Sapporo one's at the Hokkaido Prefectural Sports Center in Sapporo, Japan. And the first match is Hirai Kawato and Kushida versus Suzuki Gun of El Desperado and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Then we have David Finlay, Henare, and Yoshitatsu versus Tenzan, Kojima, and Nagata. Then we have Chaos of Gato, Jado, and Will Ospreay versus Jushin Liger, Katsuyori Shibata, and Tiger Mask. Takashi Iizuka versus Yoshihashi. Dragon Lee, Manabu Nakanishi, Michael Elgin, Raisuke Taguchi, and Hiroshi Tanahashi versus all of Los Ingobernables. Roppongi Vice, Barada and Rocky Romero versus Taichi and Taka Michinoku for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championship. Hiroki Goto versus Juice Robinson for the Never Openweight. Chaos of Tomohiro Ishii and Toriano versus GBH versus Killer Elite Squad in a triple threat. And Okada versus Suzuki for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship on night 1 of New Beginning on February 5th. And on February 11th, it's going to be at the Eddie on Arena Osaka in Osaka, Japan. For David Finlay and Hanare versus Hirai Kawato and Yoshitatsu. Tenzan Kushida and Kojima versus El Desperado, Iizuka, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Chaos of Gato, Hiroki Goto, Jado, and Yoshihashi versus Juice Robinson, Jushin Liger, Tiger Mask, and Yuji Nakata. Beretta, Rocky Romero, and Okada versus Minoru Suzuki, Taichi, and Taka Michinoku. We have Hiroshi Tanahashi, Ryusuke Taguchi, and Nobu Nakanishi versus Los Ingobernables of Bushi, Evil, and Sonata for the Never Openweight 6-man title. And if Shibata retains his British Heavyweight Championship in Revolution Pro, it will be for the British Heavyweight Championship. Katsuyori Shibata versus Will Ospreay. Chaos of Ishii and Yano, the same triple threat as the night before for the tag team championships. And then we get the 2-punch of Hiromu Takahashi versus Dragon Lee for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, which is effectively Kamitachi versus Dragon Lee, which should be awesome.
Yep.
And Naito versus Elgin for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship.
I think that's a feud that can really be they can carry into this year. Naito and Elgin, like Elgin trying to reclaim the honor. I think they can play it off as Elgin trying to reclaim the honor of the title, as opposed to Naito, who will basically do whatever it is he does with the Intercontinental Championship.
I just see this as a placeholder for something else.
Right.
That's what I see it as.
It could be a launching pad for either guy, especially Naito.
The New Japan expansion is going in full force. They're doing the English commentary. They're doing the shows in LA. The War of the Worlds tour have been announced for Philadelphia. Yeah, buddy.
That's going to be interesting.
Philadelphia, Toronto, and Dearborn. And Ring of Honor's bringing in some New Japan guys for the Super Card of Honor. They're bringing in Yoshihashi and Jushin Liger, and they're doing Young Bucks versus Hardys.
Yeah, I saw that, and both I saw
at
both
Super
videos.
Card of Honor.
I saw the Bucks video of them accepting the challenge of the Hardys. As the Hardys, apparently their excursion is to take on all other tag team champions in every other promotion they can possibly get to. And the videos are hilarious. Where Matt Hardy's doing, in most cases, Matt Hardy, as ironically, I'm watching the 04 Royal Rumble match, and Hardy's coming out. He was entry number 7, by the way. And they were doing the videos, and Hardy's doing his thing, where Matt's doing his thing on the promos, and then Jeff cuts in with his obsolescence, and then they do the delete thing, which is hilarious. They're doing great work with that. So that's good to Hardys versus Bucks. That's going to be legit.
Yeah, that's going to be legit. Other news includes PWG announced their latest card it's going to be called Only Kings Understand Each Other. It will take place Saturday, February 18th. And here's the card. Leo Rush versus Ricochet. That's going to be good.
Okay, yeah, that's going to be nice.
Jay White versus Marty Scurll.
That's going to be interesting for Jay White. See what he can, stepping up in a big-time heavyweight competition right here.
Phoenix versus Trent. That should be really good. Trent has had some standout matches in PWG. But this is the match I'm looking most forward to. Jeff Cobb and Matthew Riddle versus the Unbreakable Effin' Machines of Brian Cage and Michael Elgin.
Okay.
That should be a hoot. That should be a hoot.
Yeah, I like that one. I like that match.
Cody R is going to face Trevor Lee. OI4K, Jake Chris, Dave Chris, and Sami Callihan will take on the Super Clique of the Young Bucks and Adam Cole. And Chuck Taylor will face Zack Sabre Jr. for the PWG World Title.
That's a good card.
Yep, it is a good card for
a good card.
For February 18th. That's going to be doing that. I think Evolve announced their cards too for Royal Rumble weekend. Let me see their website. I don't have everything up.
Obviously, everyone's trying to step their game up for Royal Rumble weekend, knowing full well WWE's bringing it with TakeOver and with Raw and with the Rumble itself, all being stationed in San Antonio.
Evolve 76 includes Chris Hero's last matches. We have
Hero did make the move to WWE. I'm not sure we mentioned that before, but Hero did make that move.
We have the first card is going to be Texas Wrestling Academy card. It's going to be Action Jackson versus DJ Talon Mendez, Rudy Russo versus Max Castillo, and Texas Lion versus Moonshine Mantell. In a special challenge match, Jaka versus Peter Casa and Dustin versus Jason Kincaid. Matt Riddle versus ACH.
That's going to be a hot one.
Zack Sabre Jr. versus ACH versus Ethan Page with the Gatekeepers.
Okay.
We have Chris Hero versus Keith Lee as Hero's one of Hero's last matches on the Indies. And catch point of Freddie Ahai and Tracy Williams versus Evolve champion Timothy Thatcher and Jeff Cobb.
We're really setting Cobb up to have Cobb can have one of those breakout years. He really could.
Then we have Evolve 77. It will be Chris Dickinson and Jaka versus Sammy Guevara and Jason Kincaid. Laredo Kid versus Tracy Williams. Freddie Ahai versus ACH. Chuck Taylor versus Matt Riddle. Chris Hero's final match. Chris Hero versus Zack Sabre Jr.
Okay, that's
of
a way
course.
to go out. Okay.
That's a way to go out. And then Timothy Thatcher defends against his Evolve Championship against Jeff Cobb.
What a good weekend for Cobb.
And yeah, so that's basically the news around the world. Let's go to WWE.
All right, so let's see. Where did we left off? What, at the start of the year?
Yeah, start of the year.
All right, so let's see. We talk about the main players just for the last couple of weeks here. The first shows of the year, Raw and SmackDown-wise. Raw had the caveat of Goldberg and bringing Goldberg to the show.
Oh, we talked about that. It's the second Raws, and
the second.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking last week.
Yeah, last week and this week.
Last week and this week. So last week's main event. Let's see. Raw. I like last week's Raw better than last week's SmackDown. That was the week of Jericho. That was Jericho's week. Jericho won the U.S. title, and Jericho winning the handicap match against Jericho and Owens winning the handicap match against Reigns for the U.S. Championship, where it was Jericho getting the pin after they basically destroyed Roman Reigns. It was the code breaker on the apron. Then it was the powerbomb on the apron from Owens to Reigns, and another code breaker inside the ring, which basically subtracted the U.S. Championship from Roman and giving it to Jericho, giving Chris the Grand Slam that has eluded him for years. So props to Chris Jericho for finally getting his Grand Slam. We've had other main things on Raw. The Bayley winning the number one contender match with Nia, thanks to a little bit of a distraction from Sasha. That was 2 weeks ago. Last week they had a tag match, the four of them, and it was Nia pinning Bayley. Thanks to Nia looking dominant. Nia's really stepped her game up since jumping into this fray with Sasha. She's really stepped her game up lately. So I got to give props to Nia Jax for really getting it in. Speaking of stepping the game up, Braun Strowman is another one that's really stepped his game up as he is establishing himself as that unstoppable killing machine that I think a lot of us believe he could be over the last couple of weeks. So Braun was getting it in. It was a good week for Braun last week as well. Then we jump into, let's see, other main things that happened here. The tag champions, Cesaro and Sheamus, I'll get to them for this week, and this stuff really kicked up for this week. Same with the Cruiserweights, this stuff kind of kicked up better this week. Let's see here. We've got, trying to see if there's anything else we didn't cover. New Days were kind of fooling around with Titus, and that's been pretty funny. But nothing major leaked out with that. Oh, and the other thing that happened with New Orleans, the Raw in New Orleans, Undertaker and Shawn Michaels showed up. Shawn Michaels' impact was with Enzo and Cass, as Cass would beat Jinder Mahal, but the promo with Shawn, Enzo, and Cass was hilarious. And then Rusev getting kicked in the face was also funny. We saw, so Cass doing his thing there. Cass continues to handle his. Enzo did return to action this week, and they ended up beating Mahal and Rusev in a tag match, which was good. Let's see here. We got look at the Cruiserweights later. Gallows and Anderson doing their thing, gets their stuff later. Undertaker returned, and returned to the site where he lost his WrestleMania streak. But he returned with the message that he's coming into the Royal Rumble and will go to the Royal Rumble match, making the match kind of super stacked with Taker, Lesnar, and Goldberg in it, and they're getting ready for San Antonio, the spot where the Undertaker won the Royal Rumble match. So we'll see what happens with the dead man. 29 souls, 29 holes. You already know. Let's see here. Yep, we saw Titus. Titus lost all 3 members of New Day. And so that was the major stuff from Raw last week. SmackDown last week, we saw Ambrose, the fallout of Ambrose winning the Intercontinental Championship.
Yep.
And which led to the Ambrose Participation Award, giving it to The Miz, and then Miz will probably get Dirty Deeds as well for his efforts. So it was not a good week for Miz. Nikki and Natalya match never happened because they've been brawling pretty much at every turn. It is Natalya pretty much had to jump last week as she beat up Nikki and beat up Nikki's knee. Nikki would get a little bit of revenge this week as Natalya kind of ripped down her the merch of everyone not named Natalya. And they brawled in Memphis, and it was advantage Nikki there. But this fight clearly isn't over between the two of them.
Right.
We saw Kalisto beat Ziggler one-on-one in a pretty clean one-on-one match. And then Baron Corbin came out. Actually, no, this is actually the fallout from the heel turn of Dolph, where Dolph super kicked Kalisto after Corbin beat Ziggler. And then Kalisto came out to save Dolph, and Dolph would turn heel by kicking Kalisto in the face. Kalisto would beat Dolph in the fallout from that, but then Dolph attacked him and gave him the business. Apollo Crews came down to try to save Kalisto. It did not work. It was not a good look for Dolph, or not a good look for Kalisto or Crews, and Dolph is becoming more of a heel by the day, and it looks like it's working. American Alpha retained their tag titles, and the Wyatts looked good. The Wyatts looked good. This was Bray and Randy this time, but Randy still caught the pin. Randy got pinned, and it was in the end we saw the Wyatts bickering, especially Harper and Orton. More of that will come later. We'll get to that later on as we go. Dan Bryan announced the steel cage match, which main event of the show next week. We'll get to that in a second. Carmella's Worth has been weird and goofy and funny and kind of worked, though Carmella in the ring did not. CJ Lundy, that was just not a good match. But Carmella's Worth backstage and on the microphone, it's still funny. Corbin and Cena, not terrible, not as good as I thought it would be, but not terrible. Corbin looked decent in the match. Cena looked like he was Cena. I mean, it wasn't quite a squash. It wasn't that bad, but it wasn't like it was meant for Corbin to get as much shine as he could have. But Corbin's better days are coming. We know this. Corbin is going to get better with time. So I would just chalk it up as they're building up John to get ready for AJ. So I wouldn't really. I'm not going to get down on Corbin on that. Back to Raw. Back to Raw for this week. Now Raw this week
I felt something uncomfortable. Two things that were uncomfortable with Raw this week. Okay. The first thing is the Jimmy Snuka tribute. Tasteless. Blind.
Yeah. I thought it. I mean, yeah.
It was tasteless. It was something where I felt uncomfortable watching it, and half the crowd was like, okay. They're sitting on their hands like, we know what happened here.
Yeah, let's not hide.
Let's not hide this. Let's not treat him like a hero. Come on.
Yeah, let's not hide the whole thing with him being in court. Yeah, that was,
I would have not minded if they showed a graphic and been done with it.
Which they did. At the start of the show, they did.
At the start of the show, they did, but that's I would have been fine with just that. But then the video treating him like he's a hero.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Let's not do that. Oh, come on.
At least until after the trial was done. At least until after the case was dealt with. But it was not a.
They knew he was going to die, so.
Yeah, it was not a pretty way to talk. It was not a pretty way to go about this. I don't think there really would have been a pretty way to go about this.
And the second thing is making Sami Zayn look like a goofball. That was so dumb. So dumb.
It was meant to try to be funny. It just wasn't funny.
It wasn't funny. It buried him. It made him look like a total geek. It made him look so bad. And I'm like, this is one of your future stars here.
Roman's one-liner wasn't bad though. I'll give Roman credit for the one-liner, but other than that, it wasn't.
And then the third thing was the Charlotte Bayley segment, which was cringeworthy. It was cringe. It was cringeworthy.
You didn't like it?
I didn't like it at all. It was like
I really liked this.
This would have been like if we were playing TEW, which is the wrestling simulator game. It would have been like both guys lose overness with it.
No, I thought it was good.
I did not like it at all. The promos were bad. Charlotte was okay, but the Bayley poems, my God.
The one she made up on the fly?
Yeah. Those were bad.
That part of it was, I could have done without those poems. Aside from that, I had no issue with this.
And then Bayley stuttering over her words.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought Bayley seemed a little flustered when making up the poems on the fly. Other than that, I had no problem with the segment. I thought it did a very good job of keeping Charlotte hot as a heel and keeping Bayley as a sympathetic face. I thought it did a very good job of that. Bayley with the poems, I'll give you that. But other than that, I thought the segment was really productive. I thought
it was okay. I just thought it was a little egregious that the crowd wasn't really reacting to it. It was more like they were booing Bayley, and you.
Yeah,
it's so dumb. It's so dumb.
The crowd was out of it. The crowd was seemingly out of it for a lot of that segment. Gallows and Anderson versus
they were booing Bayley. WWE managed to do something that I didn't think was possible. They booed Bayley. Bayley of all people.
Yeah, it was. That's the thing. They did not make. I don't think the crowd did not help Bayley out at all. Little Rock, Arkansas did not really. Well, I think when we stopped, Little Rock is one of those, I would say, secondary wrestling towns.
Secondary? The crowd sucked all night.
Yeah, I'm saying the crowd was. This is not.
They're like third tier,
or even third tier. It's fine. They're at most they're second tier and probably third. One of those like crowds they're here for like the big star type of crowds.
Right.
That's what I mean by that. I think Little Rock is clearly an example here. Has it been in a bigger venue or even a second tier? Like you consider the top tiers.
They would have crapped all over it too.
You think the top tiers would have?
Yeah, they would have crapped all over it because it's a horrible segment.
They'd have crapped on the poems.
Yeah, the goal is not to boo Bayley at all.
Yeah.
The goal is to make her sympathetic.
Fair point. Fair point.
The goal is not to turn Bayley heel and make the crowd boo her. That's what they should be doing with Roman Reigns, not with Bayley.
But yeah, that crowd, Little Rock, actually was cool with Roman. They got the exact opposite that they wanted. They were actually, that crowd with Little Rock seemed perfectly fine for Roman Reigns.
But it's not going to work with Roman Reigns. No. And they're going to put him up against The Undertaker, and he's going to get booed out of the building.
Well, I think that's the way to turn him. They're not
going to turn him, though.
They're not going to. No, Vince doesn't seem like he has the guts to do it. But that's the route I would go.
That's the route I'd go too, but
I'd have.
But if you're expecting a babyface reaction with Roman Reigns versus The Undertaker, you're not going to get it.
No, you're not going to get no.
You're not. Sorry.
That's the route I go. I turn him there. I turn him there and have him turn on whoever the Universal Champion is at Mania and go that route. But they're not. I don't think Vince has the guts to. Moving on, Cesaro. It looked like Gallows and Anderson won the tag titles, but
they made them look like geeks too. And why would we want to cheer for Sheamus and Cesaro now, since Gallows and Anderson got screwed?
They really did. No, they really did get screwed. Except Sheamus accidentally hitting the ref. Sheamus hits the ref, which cost the disqualification. Gallows and Anderson win the match, not the titles. And then Gallows and Anderson, while out on Sheamus with the Magic Killer after the match. But it's clear that Gallows and Anderson are going to take the tag titles from Sheamus and Cesaro. It's just a matter of time. And that's pretty established. Let's see here. We'll get to the cruiserweights later. We talked about Charlotte Bayley. Let's see here. Big E. We talked about Titus losing to all three members of New Day. Then we get to the main. Then we get to the main players here. To start the night, we got the promo. We got the mini Raw Rumble. And then we got the mini Rumble with all the main Raw players involved, from Jericho and Owens to Reigns and Rollins to Zayn and Strowman, and then Lesnar comes out. And then
Sami Zayn comes out of nowhere and attacks Braun Strowman. I'm like, oh god, they're making him look like a geek. Oh my god.
They just Sami won't leave well enough alone to leave.
And then he gets suplexed by Brock Lesnar for his efforts.
Well, yeah, you need Brock to just wild out on people before he gets back to the whole him and Goldberg situation, which apparently both parties are going to be on Raw this week. So we're probably going to get a Lesnar Goldberg thing. So Lesnar wreaks havoc and ends up giving an F5 to Reigns to start the evening. The main event that night would be the six-man tag between all the parties involved, not named Brock Lesnar, and it would be the heel team that would win thanks to Strowman pinning Sami Zayn. So we got that. After the match is where the party really kicked up, where Rollins would hit Strowman with a chair, and then Reigns would give a devastating spear to Strowman. He left Strowman laying. That was a good spear by Roman. Leaving it down to 4. Oh, the 4 parties would fight on the stage, culminated with Jericho getting pedigreed by Rollins, and then Owens using that same chair on Rollins, dismissing Rollins from the proceedings, and then Owens to get even for Battleground as he powerbomb Reigns through the announce table, ending those proceedings. So that would be the end of Raw. Not a great Raw there. Not a very good Raw at all. SmackDown, I thought, was better.
Yeah.
And what SmackDown did that Raw did not was that instead Raw, I think, hit on the major stuff they wanted to hit on. But they did not do very well with the minor stuff. I think SmackDown did very well with everything they did, from the minor to the major. I think that's where SmackDown, I think, really outshined Raw in this scenario here. First, we got the Elimination Chamber match, which I wish they would have did this after the pay-per-view, after the Royal Rumble, but I understand it. Okay, SmackDown's going to have the Elimination Chamber. Just announce it now that the WWE Championship is going to be defended in the Chamber match, because I think it took away a little bit of meaning for the Elimination Chamber, because Styles and Cena are both going to be in it. So I think it took away a little bit of meaning from the Styles Cena 3 or Styles Cena 4. Well, technically 3 since Triple Threat was Ambrose. So Styles Cena 3 inside the Chamber. At the Royal Rumble next week, I should say. So we got Cena kind of inciting a match between Miz and Styles, which I thought was a pretty good promo by the 3 wrestlers there, and which led to a no contest thanks to the drawn-in interference of Cena, and Cena laying both out with the attitude adjustments. So John Cena gained some momentum. Miz and Styles look productive together. They've fought before, obviously. They look productive together.
Yeah, this is going to be good.
Miz stepping into the WWE Championship picture, I'm totally with it. By all means, I think Miz should be in the WWE Championship picture. Let's see. I told you about Nikki and Natalya. Ambrose beat Orton. Ambrose wanted to fight Orton instead of Bray. Ambrose got his wish. Ambrose would get it done and get the pin on Randy, which was a little bit of a I don't even know if it was by accident anymore with Luke Harper. It looked like it was much more on purpose. And they would proceed to fight for a little bit, as we learned from Talking Smack. Bray Wyatt would have Ambrose and not Ambrose, Harper and Orton fight each other this coming Tuesday. So at least that's going to it. But all three guys are going to be in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
King's Court. Again, we both seem to like this Dolph heel thing. I think it's working.
Yeah.
You're making Dolph more and more of a heel. And I think, who'd you compare it to?
Hiroki Goto.
You compared it to Hiroki Goto. And
Yep.
I think it's a really good comparison. I think it's a really good hook. The difference is, Dolph actually won a big one. Goto really didn't up until last Wrestle Kingdom. But Dolph has won a big one. And I think this is a really good way to rebuild Dolph or package Dolph. Again, I think it was rumored that Kevin Nash should be like his security guard like a couple months ago. I would do something like that to really make Dolph's character hot. And he gets enough heat, enough for him to have a heavy to kind of like to kind of be like the muscle in front of Dolph to make sure Dolph doesn't get touched, stuff like that. I would go that route for Dolph. I think that would be a really good look for Ziggler, but I would do that in time. Let him build just enough heat to make that necessary. But I like where they're going with Dolph. I think that there's some heat to it. And with King doing the call for the Rumble, who knows? Maybe we get a little bit of an interaction where King eliminates Dolph in the Rumble match, something like that. Just for Dolph to get his comeuppance or something. I think that I like to see where this goes for Dolph Ziggler. I like to see where this goes. Then we get to the main events. We get to the main events of the show, which is the steel cage match with Becky and Alexa. Not a bad match. They didn't use the cage as much as I thought they would, but then again, I shouldn't be surprised. That's perfectly fine. I thought it was productive. I thought it did its service, and it was kind of a grand finale, if you will, with Alexa and Becky, I should say. And we get the debut or the return of Mickie James. We got Mickie James revealing herself as a luchadora. And I think it's going to set up a really good look with Mickie and Becky. I think they're going to really have a good battle as Alexa retains the title. It's interesting to see where Alexa's going to go from here. Where's Alexa going to go in terms of the Women's Championship? Who's going to be her next contender? That's going to be the interesting part for me. But Becky and Mickie, I think, is going to have a good brawl. That's going to be productive. So that was SmackDown in the last 2 weeks. NXT, basically what we learned here, really there's only one NXT show to really look into, and that was on Wednesday. We saw Shane Thorne unfortunately got hurt in the match with the Revival and TM61. TM61 actually won the match, but it was the Revival getting the last laugh as they destroyed Shane Thorne's knee. Hopefully Shane Thorne gets better, because I hear that was going to be a serious rivalry within the tag division as we're getting closer to Ciampa and Gargano, the DIY versus Arthur the Pain for the tag titles. That's going to be entertaining when we get to San Antonio for that. The Women's Championship got much more interesting as Asuka's finally going to get some competition. Both Australians declared themselves ready to go against Asuka as they jumped Asuka before last week's show. And then Sanity's Nikki Cross would jump into this picture, and the four of them are all going to battle for the NXT Championship in San Antonio after Asuka demanded she fight all of them. So that's going to be entertaining. We mentioned that DIY did get their match with Revival last week, and that was really good. Not Toronto good, but really good. DIY obviously retained, winning the match, and that's put the Revival in the spot with TM61.
Yeah.
Let's see. Aside from that, we saw the contract signing this week between Rude and Shinsuke. Was tremendous. They built up the heat so well against each other. A combination of mutual respect and a little bit of disdain from Rude. I think, and they set the mood really well for that match. I think they're gonna have a good match in San Antonio. I can see big things in that match. And a battle of the two best entrance themes in WWE right now, NXT or main roster, between Rude and Shinsuke. That's going to be tremendous in San Antonio. We saw Dillinger and Eric Young have a little bit of an interaction this week. which I thought that was pretty entertaining. And we saw a Dillinger of where do we go from here?
Right.
You make New Japan comparisons. I think I'm Dillinger as Hamna. I think I'm Hamna. He needs that signature win. And up until last year or 2014's G1,
Yeah.
he didn't get that signature win, and then he finally got it, and he hasn't looked back. I think Dillinger is in that role to me right now. He just needs a signature win. Will he get it against Eric Young in San Antonio? I'd like to see it. And the grand finale, we got Roddy Strong is going to battle with Cien Almas. Cien Almas got eliminated from the Fatal 4-Way from Roddy. So I think we're going to see something with that. I think that'll be a decent match. That'll be decent. I don't know if it'll be anything to write home about, but it'll be decent. So that was NXT over the last couple weeks. 205 Live, as we get to the cruiserweights. The main thing, there are only three main storylines. Sadie Alexander and Alicia, where Sadie finally cut ties with Alicia.
And she distracted him.
And she would distract him for a match this week. I think it was with Tony Nese. Nese got the W there. And then we saw Noam Dar kind of watch the whole thing happen backstage. And he's still going after Alicia. And Alicia's giving him the smack. So that happened. Let's see. He also beat Kendrick last week on Raw, and then kind of dug Alicia, which is kind of funny. We saw and then we get to the Cruiserweight Championship situation with Swan and Neville. We got a couple brawls involved there. I thought was entertaining from both parties, as it really building up the heat for the match coming up next Sunday in the Alamo Dome. But really, my favorite part of this whole Cruiserweight scene has been Gallagher and Daivari have been battling, and they finally got things finished with the I Forfeit match, where clearly Gallagher carried and Gallagher did his thing. And I'm just wondering how many umbrellas he's got under the ring or stashed wherever they have to be, because he's got umbrellas everywhere. And they would all come into play and beat up Daivari, and so he would finally forfeit he would kind of put him in an Oscar lock situation, like CrossFit Chicken Wing with the body scissors to make Daivari forfeit. So Gallagher wins the match, and Gallagher ends the rivalry. So that's really your look at WWE, except for one piece of business that I purposely left last: the enshrinement of Kurt Angle into the Hall of Fame. As Angle will be the headliner for the WWE Hall of Fame in Orlando this year.
Yes.
It's well-deserved.
Well-deserved, yep.
There is nobody who's had a better rookie year in WWE. I don't care who you think of. There's no one that had a better rookie year than Kurt. In a span of 11 months, Kurt Angle was a Triple Crown winner.
Yep.
He was European and Intercontinental Champion and then WWE Champion from in between Survivor Series 99 to Survivor Series 2000. He was WWE Champion. And he won the King of the Ring in between that time period. Kurt Angle fit as a heel. He fit as a face. He fit with entertainment. He fit with the wrestling. Classics with heavyweights like Brock and Undertaker, to cruiserweights like Rey Mysterio, to guys like Edge as Edge's career was coming up, to guys like Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho. He had classics with pretty much everyone he stepped in the ring with.
Yeah.
And he had great matches with Big Show. Big Show was huge. As a Big Show, Big Show's now got abs. But he had classics.
Yeah, that was an impressive picture.
Yeah, no kidding. Big Show's got a six-pack. Who'd have thought? What kind of world? It's an amazing world we're living in right now. Big Show's got a six-pack. That's something right there. That's some aspiration right there. Still, Kurt Angle had classics with Eddie Guerrero, Booker T, JBL. He had classics with
Everyone.
So many. John Cena. He had classics with so many people. In so many different realms, and classics from the Attitude Era, the Ruthless Aggression Era, to this current era. He's got classics with so many people. It's well-deserved for Kurt Angle to jump into the Hall of Fame. And he deserves to be the headliner. And it'll be interesting to see who comes next. I mean, we heard a lot of rumors from a lot of different cats, but we'll see what happens next as who joins him in this induction in the Hall. But Kurt Angle absolutely deserves it. So good job for Kurt Angle to jump into the Hall of Fame.
And that's about
really a
it.
look at WWE.
That's about it.
All right. So Monday, inside the lounge, let's see. Clemson wins the title. I actually put the preview up on Facebook and the lounge page. Clemson wins the title. So now what? Where does Clemson go from here? Well, we'll start looking. Let's look at the early top 25 projections. I think CBS and a lot of people have done projections. We'll probably look at Seagull. We'll probably look at ESPN.
They're probably overrating Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, I don't think was involved in it.
Oh, thank God.
Notre Dame was in the top. Yeah, you guys weren't involved in the top 25. We'll look at there's a column on the games on September 2nd. You guys that have one of them, there's a lot of good games on September 2nd. We'll look at that. We'll look back at the NFL playoffs. We're not going to look at the Super Bowl next week. We'll save that one for the following show. But
we'll do all the prop bets.
Yeah,
that's
we'll
always fun.
We'll look at the prop bets for that game. We'll look at the prop bets for Super Bowl 51. We'll look at we'll talk about the moves to the NFL moves with the Chargers, and then moving to LA and the Raiders. As we saw yesterday, and then we moving to Las Vegas very soon. We'll talk about the Baseball Hall of Fame, Jeff Bagwell, Tim Raines, Pudge Rodriguez. They're all in the hall. We'll get into that a little bit. Brad and Hoffman will get into how they barely missed.
Probably Bonds and Clemens are going to get in a few years.
Yeah, Bonds maybe even next year, but we'll see how that works. So we'll
Could you imagine 2020 if it's Bonds, Clemens, and Jeter?
Bonds, Clemens, and Jeter. Ooh.
Just for
That's
food
a
for
heavyweight
thought.
class. That's a very heavyweight class. And the following year you got Mariano, and the year after that you got David Ortiz. So that's
if David Ortiz goes in, I think Edgar Martinez should go in.
I think Edgar will get in before Edgar, for his sake, better get in before Ortiz does, because he's not going to get in over Ortiz. He better get in before Ortiz is eligible. I think that would be the route I would think of.
But Edgar Martinez was the better player than David Ortiz all around.
Yeah, better defensively, because Ortiz wasn't good defensively. I'll give you that. Ortiz was incredibly clutch, with three rings to his name. So Ortiz having the clutch factor. But Martinez, I'll give you, was a better defensive player. I will totally give you that. So, yeah, that'll do it. So, yeah, tune in at 9 for the lounge on Monday. So that'll do it for us here. So Dekus, take us home.
It is 11:08 on Monco Radio, where music and minds meet.